morning everyone, my name is Marie Bradley and I'm an area demonstrator for the North Midlands area of NAFAS, and I've been invited again to do you a second demonstration. So I've been looking forward to this. I'm starting with two designs using the same mechanics, and the mechanics are these little yoghurt pots that I've accumulated in the kitchen, and I thought they would be very useful as my water source. This design has been developed, and this is the original that I did for autumn and winter. It's 7 of the yoghurt pots stuck together with a hot glue gun, camouflaged on the top with some spray paint, some green moss spray paint, and then tying that in with some autumnal leaves and brackens, and then arranging foliages and flowers on the top, and I use that for autumn and for winter. So I'm developing this now in a larger design for you today. So this one, I've used a slice of silver birch that I bought from the wholesale market. I've stuck on the little bottles, and then I've padded the outside of the bottles with some bubble wrap. And then I've moulded some moss around the sides to give it a nest type appearance, because we've got Easter, haven't we, just round the corner, and I thought this could be developed into an Easter arrangement. Now I'm starting by adding a few textural twigs to the design, and this is silver birch, and I just wanted it to come over the edges, so I'm creating a little bit of a mesh on the top of my bottles. It's pretty because they've got all these little seed heads on the top. The next thing I'm adding, this is wax flower. They're only little bits, they're not very long. I'm just going to trim the edges. Now, if you don't see me trimming the edges, it's because I'm trying to save time, but most of this has already been trimmed. So for quickness, I'm going to put in some little bunches, but it is important that you distribute all your materials, particularly the littler ones, the fillers, distribute it throughout the design. Yes, Easter's just round the corner. We've all come through lockdown, or nearly, haven't we? This is the last spear. Again, just some small pieces, but for textural interest, I'm going to add them in. If you do buy a stem from your florist, it will go a long way. You'll only need one, and even one in a bouquet looks extremely pretty. I want this to have a woodland feel to it. Another garden foliage, little flower, and that's your sarcococca, or your Christmas box, sweet box it's called, and it has got a very sweet and delicate fragrance at this time of the year. A friend of mine said that she liked hers, she had it by the door, and when she came out there was that gorgeous fragrance. This is something I've picked out of the garden. It's the little heather with little white flowers, little white, they're all like, almost like little bells. I thought those would look beautiful and link in with the silver birch base. So I'm going to put these mainly around the outside so that they can be seen. We'll put 1 or 2 in the middle. There we are. Okay, the next thing out of the garden, this is Skimmia japonica. Such a useful little plant, a little shrub. It gives us such a delight with the seed heads, and you can get it in the red or the white. So it's very good at all times of the year. This I'm going to ease out towards the outsides, mainly because of the form. It will just trail for me over the edge. And then this little wonder, the hellebore or the Lenten rose. A friend of mine bought me one of these for my birthday, and interestingly, what did it call it? A winter angel. And it is, isn't it? It comes up in most inclement of weathers, and it's so pretty and delicate. Little bit of status. Let's just give that a quick nip. This lasts and lasts, and you'll see that the materials I'm using are all of the similar colour, from the similar colour palette. There we are. And finally, some tulips, some spring flower. These were from not out of the garden at this time of the year, but these were just in a mixed bunch from the supermarket. I have only just trimmed them, so I'll have some of these in. Because these are a smaller flower, I'm grouping them. Put one in the middle to link it. There we are. Okay. You have to be careful with the tulips because they do grow, so you might need to do a bit of trimming as time goes on. A little leaf that I saw floating about, I'm going to add that. And then finally, a few pieces of variegated hedera, the ivy, and I'm going to ease that just again towards the outsides so that it can flow from the design into and over the top of the moss. So this is, as I say, this is a very simple design, and I hope something that you can develop yourselves. This moss was simply out of between because our lawn is full of moss, so it was easy to take a little bit up. There. So that's the first design, everyone. Something that you could develop for Easter. Now, moving on the same sort of theme, I thought we've got Mother's Day round the corner, haven't we? So let's do something that perhaps we could involve our grandchildren or children and perhaps whet their appetite for flower arranging. In there, look, we've got all the little pots that I've flashed with the paint. I've stuck them on a posy pad, and on the posy pad you can see I've edged it with some material corresponding to these little toilet roll holders that I've covered with paper, and interestingly snugly fit on top of those little pots. You can also see that I've stuck on some buttons, again just to bring some interest, and you'll see how I'm going to use the buttons again as well within the design. I've filled those pots with water, and then I'm going to start by using some eucalyptus parvifolia. Trim the edges of those. Now, as I say, Mother's Day is round the corner, and I don't know whether you know the origins of Mother's Day, but Mother's Day occurs, certainly in our country, on the fourth Sunday of Lent. And Mother's Day came about because there was a lady in Western Virginia in America in 1905, and she wanted to make a holiday day for mothers. She was an anti-war campaigner, Anyway, she was successful, and now Mother's Day is recognised throughout the world, really, in lots of different countries. This is a small pieces of leather leaf just over the edge. I don't want to hide the containers, so I'm fairly careful. I just want a little bit. There we are. So that's the base. And then I'm going to add in, I don't know whether I told you that lady's name. It's Anna Jarvis. That was her name. She successfully campaigned, as I say, but she didn't like how it was turned into a commercial business. But of course things do, don't they? These are a lovely sign of spring. Look, the catkins. So they're going in next. And these are things that I suppose if you are doing it with your grandchildren, you could just pick a few from the wayside. Bear's grass now, just for a different form. And of course that, because of the lines that it creates, and it also adds, because it gives height to this design without it being heavy, it adds more space. I've been watching the repair shop and loving every minute of it, and I've noticed that as time goes on, we reflect on the things that we used to do with our grandparents or our parents, and I would hope that, you know, this is something that certainly that you could do with your children and your grandchildren. Now, what a beautiful sign of spring, the daffodil. So those are going in next. Now, these have been trimmed and they've been in water, and of course you know that the daffodil will release that sap. So we don't want that to affect and contaminate the water, so that's why these have already been trimmed. So I'm going to evenly distribute them. Yellow is an advancing colour, so if you put it in any design, that's the colour that you're going to see first. But what a show of spring it is. I've got some in my garden. They're just starting. Well, they've come through the soil. They've not started to open yet. Look how simple that is and how effective it is. Just a few more. These are so inexpensive to buy. And if you did encourage your children, once you've taken on the pleasure of flower arranging, you can enjoy it throughout your life. National Flower Arrangers Day, that's another way, isn't it, of introducing more and more people to flower arranging, and that occurs on the 7th of May. So it would be lovely, wouldn't it, if you could all do something for neighbours or friends, and try and encourage the hobby. Now here's where we use the buttons. So I've used the hot glue gun, used those buttons and made a flower shape, added on a wire and camouflaged the wire with stem text. So this is just to add a little fun to the design. We've all got button boxes. I was thinking about it. I've inherited about 3 button boxes from various relatives. But then they're not quite as colourful as these buttons. These were bought from in a bag. You can just buy bags. So everyone, that is my second design. I'm going to move that so you can see it clearly. So we have something that that you could enjoy for Mother's Day and you could perhaps do with your grandchildren. And then something more contemporary, and possibly we could develop that for an Easter theme. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you can take these ideas and develop them yourselves. Thank you.